Shalom, everybody. Another Pulse of Israel interview here at the JNS Policy Summit in Jerusalem with a hero, Jonathan Pollard, Yehonatan Pollard. We had a fabulous interview at the beginning of the war. Now we're more than a year and a half into this war. Love to hear what your thoughts are where we are as a state, as a Jewish people. And again, the important thing for me is not just hearing your critique of government, but as the Jewish people moving forward, where do you think we are and everything going on?
Unfortunately, I can't really draw a distinction between the government and the Jewish people, mostly because the Jewish people voted this particular government into office. So if you look at what the government has done and is planning to do, we have some major problems right now. First and foremost, we haven't come to an understanding that our principal objective in Gaza is first and foremost the destruction of Hamas, the depopulation of Gaza itself, and its subsequent annexation by Israel. As far as the hostages are concerned, I give an analogy, which, because of my Navy background, that a lot of people eventually understand. And that's when a submarine commander realizes that his ship is stricken. And in order to save it, he has to close off the damaged part of the ship along with living crew members in order to save the rest of the boat. This is the same analogy that I use with regard to the hostages. I am not saying we should abandon them. What I'm saying is there's a right way and a wrong way of securing their release. If we hit Hamas hard enough and seriously enough and decisively enough, there will come a point in time where they'll ask, you got a deal? First of all, I don't believe we ever should be talking to them. We should just be saying, this is what you have to do. But where we are now, okay. So what happens at that point? We give them two choices. You hand over all the hostages, living and dead, and you can leave. Get out. We did that with Arafat and the PLO, and we should do that with Hamas now.
All right, talking about Lebanon.
In Lebanon. But they should be under no illusions. We will come after them, wherever they are in the world, especially their leaders. Every single one of them will pay the price for what they did on October 7th. As far as this issue of Gaza is concerned, we have to understand that of all the fronts we have, and I'm also including an internal front against the anti-judicial movement crowd and now the left wing of the hostage movement that has no concern for the hostages. They just want to use it as a weapon against the coalition government. We haven't shut down any of these fronts at all. Not Hamas, not the Houthis, not Iran, not the terror network in Yehuda and Shomron, not Syria, and we'll get to that in a minute, and not Hezbollah. The most inexcusable failure that we've made is not actually Hamas, it's Iran. I've been advocating ever since October 9th our use of an EMP strike, an electromagnetic pulse strike against Iran, with a neutron strike as well against select targets like the IRGC headquarters and other places of value for the command control of the regime, and then to follow it up with a coordinated aerial campaign against select targets, mostly nuclear targets. We don't need the United States for this. We can do this tomorrow morning. We shut the whole country down. What happens politically in that country is that the people will have a chance at that point to overthrow the government. And if not, there won't be anything left of civilization in Iran. If they want light or heat, they better go find some wood, because nothing electronic will be working. This is what we can do. So why is it people ask me that it's so important that we start closing these fronts down that we're facing. First and foremost, it's to respect our reservists. These guys, I mean, what do they want when I talk to reservists? They want victory, number one. Number two, they want adequate equipment, which they weren't given. And number three, they have a right to appropriate financial compensation, equivalent to what they're making in their regular jobs. And if the government says, oh my God, we're going to have to spend a lot of money then if this war goes on, maybe then they'll get around to understanding what a short, decisive war is all about. They may not care about the lives of our chayalim, of our soldiers, but they sure care about money. So closing down Iran in particular and Gaza, those two fronts are especially important now because of the threat from Turkey. The Turkish threat in the north actually is more dangerous than the Iranian threat ever was, particularly because they're Sunni and they're Muslim Brotherhood. Okay? Yeah. So it's not like the Shiites coming into an area and having to explain themselves. No, they have their eyes on Jordan, and they have their eyes on us. They want to recreate a neo-Ottoman empire. And believe me, Erdogan is dead set, committed to doing this. When the Americans just 2 weeks ago announced that they were going to be pulling out of Syria, their military positions in Syria, it was not a coincidence that the very next day, the Turks started pouring men and equipment into northern Syria. We can't fight them and the Egyptians at the same time. So you say, why am I saying the Egyptians? Because war with Egypt is a certain eventuality. They have broken every agreement we've ever signed with them, starting with Camp David. So in order to face them and the Turks, we have to start closing down fronts. As far as the internal front is concerned, let me conclude on this note. The left now, not having gained power through the ballot, is now trying to use NGOs, the same ones that USAID funded in the anti-judicial reform attempted coup. They're trying to get the same NGOs to convince the High Court, the Bagats, that the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, is legally incapacitated. This is not a legal concept. We have incapacitation, mental incapacitation, physical incapacitation, what have you. But when the High Court, which they will, say that everything is justiciable and that we have a right to redefine the law to include judicial, legal incapacitation, we are on the verge then of, I hate to say it, I'm just reflecting what the left is saying, a potential civil war. I don't want it. They do.
Yep.
Which is why I'm asking, maybe through this film, this interview, President Trump to publicly call into question our democratic legitimacy. Vice President J.D. Vance brought this up on his first visit to Europe, and he held a mirror up to the Europeans. And he said, you're a bunch of hypocrites. You don't have democracy here. You think the Russians are problems? We think you're a problem. And I think that because the same leftist, woke, progressive, Marxist influences in society tried to prevent him from gaining the presidency and tried to lock him up on false trumped-up charges, no pun, false charges, he would understand what our society is facing right now. It's an attempted coup by a minority of Marxists. And I wish that he could come out and say that and call upon the government here to immediately enact judicial reform so that Israel's democratic legitimacy, there are credentials as a legitimate democracy, could be recognized. I don't like asking anybody on the outside to intervene in our internal affairs, but we have to be saved from ourselves right now. And if the left, by the way, criticizes the president, well, maybe they should remember what Chuck Schumer did on the floor of the Senate when he called basically for a civil war here. Or what President O'Biden, which is what I call him, President O'Biden did by funneling tens and tens of millions of dollars through USAID to NGOs in this country that were dedicated to overthrowing a democratically elected government.
And I'm sure you saw the recent headlines from the Israeli Channel 13 News that interviewed Biden administration officials who flat out said straight out, black and white, yes, the Biden administration was focused on toppling Netanyahu.
Correct. The only thing I can say is that I hope we're not, we always vote right and get left.
Right.
The left knows where it's going and what it wants. And they don't care what happens to the rest of it. They don't care what happens to the state. They don't care what happens to the people here. Nothing. They want to regain popular power. And they've tried to do that through a juristocracy with a Bagatz, the High Court, through an AG who should, my personal opinion, be in jail. Yeah, for usurping her authority, exceeding her authority, and all of those so-called legal advisors, quote unquote, that act like commissars in the various ministries in our government. They admitted it. The Biden administration admitted it. What's the problem? So go after. I've asked people. Then go after them.
Yeah. What's the answer?
The answer is we can't. Because we live in a democracy. I'm sorry. Democracy is not a suicide pact. It is not. The people have responsibility to safeguard the gates of democracy. And they have the right to exclude those from entering the gates of government who are dedicated to undermining and overthrowing a democratically elected government that they don't like. I'm sorry. As I've told them on numerous occasions, did we have a democratic election? Yes. Did you guys lose? Yes. I said, then get over it. If you have lost power, if the Ashkenazi white elite have lost power, then maybe they should get another country or just get over it.
Words, pearls of wisdom from Yehonatan Pollard. I'd love to be able to have a more in-depth conversation with you, so we'll do that in the studio.
Anytime.
In the meantime, just hearing the headline items for people to hear. And again, you're talking, this isn't just another man on the streets. His life experience, intelligence background.
And I'm Rivka's husband and the stepfather of 6 girls. So I know what I'm talking about.
And even more so. Yonatan, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
All right. Signing off for another Pulse of Israel episode here in our ancestral, indivisible capital, Jerusalem. You're now yet a subscriber to the belief-based, inspiring, politically incorrect truth that you get from the Pulse of Israel. What are you waiting for? Go pulseofisrael.com and click to subscribe. We are a donor-based operation. We need your support. Big, large donations to help have more people inspired by this truth. Just click on the donate button every once in a while on pulseofisrael.com. Shalom, everyone, and thanks for watching.
Pulse of Israel, frontline videos from the Holy Land. Support our work by donating today.